Hello everybody, welcome, Namaskar, Hare Krishna. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Shatakshi and I'm here for the dramatic dance telling of the Ramayana in the Odissi dance style. Before we continue with this evening, I just want to express how very grateful I am for this opportunity amongst many stellar seminars and sessions by many wonderful devotees. This whole week, harmony for women empowerment. I think this is a very, very important topic, and hence I'm extremely grateful to be given this opportunity to participate with my humble service and version of my contribution towards this seminar. So I was asked by the organizers to give an introduction to myself. So I grew up in Boise, Idaho. I was homeschooled there under the guidance of Hanuman Pishak Maharaj and Gopal Krsna Maharaj by my parents, who were disciples of Gopal Krsna Maharaj. And I did electrical and computer engineering at the age of 18 and graduated top 5 in USA for electrical and computer engineering and top 10 in my university. And I started working for 2 years, and I was already earning $65,000 a year at the age of 18, and I also was managing 2 contracting companies for Hewlett-Packard. Then I just realized that I cannot do this anymore. I cannot do something else when I'm being called towards a different direction. Growing up, Hanuman Pishak Maharaj gave a lot of guidance and advising for me to do choreographies on the bhajans of the Vaishnava Acharyas, and at the time I was learning Kathak and Bharatanatyam in my childhood. So I resigned everything and I moved to India to learn Odissi dance because I felt like it was very deeply connected to the Vaishnava art forms and the Vaishnava bhajans, and in fact some of the acharyas who have written the songs for Odissi dance were actually disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as well, because Odisha and Bengal being bordering states, the cultural invasions from both influenced each other. So a lot of, at the time of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu especially, a lot of influence through him and through his disciples came onto the Odissi style. So I decided to move my entire career towards classical Indian dance, specifically the Odissi dance style. And when I was 11, I was 11, New Vrindavan, the Festival of Inspiration that happens in New Vrindavan every year in America, I met, somehow I was attending a class by Radhanath Maharaj, and I just had this deep desire that, someday may I meet him, may I speak to him, maybe he can come to our home for prasadam. Being, raised in Boise, all the Maharaj and Goswamis that would come to the temple would always have prasadam at our place. We were very lucky like that. So I had this desire somehow that, to have some personal interaction with Radhanath Maharaj. And the next day during noontime Aarti, I had actually made the garland of Srinathji, one of the deities on the altar in Sri Vrindavan. And it was Narasimha Chaturdashi, and I had a lot of difficulty making that garland somehow. So I was just, during noontime darshan, I was at the railing of the temple altar, and I was just, wishing that the pujari had kind of positioned the garland in such a way that it was, symmetric on Srinathji. And in the meantime, I feel a presence approaching me from behind, and I realize that it's Maharaj, Radhanath Maharaj. And I kind of tried to scuttle away, move away so that Maharaj could take darshan. And then I realized that Maharaj was coming to talk to me. And I was so surprised, and I turned, and I'm, 11-year-old little girl, turned to Maharaj and he says, with all seriousness, did you make this garland? And I just turn around, my jaws drop open, and I'm just like, and then he says, it's very beautiful. And then he turns to me and he says, you should dance for Krishna. And this is the first time I'm ever speaking to Maharaj. Maharaj, obviously knows a lot about me, but this is the first time we're meeting in this, life. And I was so astounded and speechless, and I couldn't say anything. So Maharaj understood my situation. He just said again, you should dance for Krishna. By this time, my mother, who was watching at a distance, had approached and she was like, yes, Mara, she's performing in the evening. She's doing a Bharatanatyam dance, Alepayude, for the congregation. And Maharaj nodded his head with a smile and he left and said that you should dance for Krishna. So 3 times in a row, and I find myself 10 years later in Vrindavan learning Odissi, and then I searched actually throughout India for about 4 years for a very good Odissi dance school, and I wanted to learn from a proper Gurukul. So I found Nrityagram dance school in Bangalore, Hesaraghatta, and I learned there from my very respected teachers, Guru Shrupa Sen, Bijoyini Satpathy, and Pavitra Reddy. And they trained us very well, up to sometimes even 10 hours of training a day, especially during performance times. So it was like a dream come true, essentially. And you know, it was kind of my desire, because I had to literally search throughout India, move my entire career to India, and like leave everything, my hometown, my, you know, whatever I was used to growing up in America, and adjust myself to this entire lifestyle in India. And it was huge in many ways. It impacted my life in several ways, both good and negative. And it was a wonderful experience. However, I always had this desire that, you know, if there was something that was available for me while I was, you know, growing up in the West, that I would have definitely enrolled in that, even if I was just growing up, because obviously you can never ever replace the experience you get from learning in a proper Gurukul under the teachers, living with them. You can never ever replace that. That's like the best way of learning. So I then created this online training program, Odissi in 96 hours, which is kind of like a crash course in Odissi. And we cover the basics. So we cover, first off, you don't have to know any kind of dance to enroll. You can just begin without any training, as long as you're following along and you've registered for a certain number of hours per day and you're doing that regularly. So as long as you do it, you'll be able to get through fine and actually learn a lot and improve, become the best version of yourself, as they say. So we have a body conditioning class series of videos within that same course, Odissi 96 hours, in which we give movement training, which is inspired by several different movement disciplines such as ballet basics, Kalari Baitu, Natya Shastra, core conditioning, Pilates, yoga. So it's like a combination of movement training in which the dancer is able to learn how to move each limb isolatedly, balance training, strengthening, flexibility. So any fitness training that a dancer, core, thighs, any kind of fitness training that any dancer will need for any kind of dance form actually, that is given in the body conditioning classes. These are accompanied with theory classes, so any theory about tala, raga, or concepts and stories that you need to know, that is also given along with the Odissi 96 hours course. Then we have the repertoire, or the pedagogy, first pedagogy, in which we cover some basic steps. So it's like learning a new language, you know, learning dance is a body language basically, and you're learning a repository or a collection of body language that is developed over centuries and has accumulated into this dance form, which speaks a lot about that culture. It's like an ethos for that culture. So you learn these basic steps in which you learn basic tala, like 4 beats, 5 beats, 6 beats, 7 beats, 8 beats, 9 beats, 10 beats, and you learn them in different steps, in different foot positions, different hand positions and mudras and gestures, different torso positions. It overall forms a full bhangi. The Tribhangi and Chowka positions are the basics of Odissi dance, which are based on Lord Jagannath. Chowka position is that square position, and Tribhangi is that S-curve form and time and space, that curved threefold bending form of Krishna that we're all in love with. So these steps kind of form the words with which you form sentences. Then you put 2 or 3 steps together in different beats, in different speeds, and you form a sentence. And then you put a few sentences together and you form a short paragraph, which is called an arasa. And then you put a few arasas together and it forms a pallavi. And if you put abhinaya or emotions into it, it becomes an emotive piece, because usually most steps are actually in their default mode flavorless, and you flavor them according to the abhinaya that is being used. And as you will see today, abhinaya is like the expressions or the story that you're trying to tell. You're trying to tell what happened. So you're going to flavor those default movements with an expression, with a mood, and you give it a color, basically. And the audience is what that is what the audience experiences. So once you learn the basics well, so we see how the student is picking up, if they're able to put together a few steps on a short dance phrase in arasa that we create in class in first speed, second speed, third speed, then we see that the dancer is starting to develop their understanding of a style of Odissi, of their style of Odissi. If they don't have to be directed very much anymore, that this is the correction that you have, and they understand the style and they bring it through into the new choreographies that we do in the moment, the short arasas, then we understand that they're ready for items now. And the Odissi repertoire is very beautiful. It has Mangalacharan, which is the first item of the Odissi repertoire, short introduction to Odissi. And it's basically invoking auspiciousness, and it's invoking the presence of Lord Jagannath. So you sing Kadachit Kalindi is the bhajan that is accompanied with that Namami Mangalacharanam, and you enter with flowers and you worship the deity of Lord Jagannath. You offer articles of worship, you offer obeisances, and then you do a bhumi pranam, which is taking permission and offering respects and asking forgiveness from Mother Earth, because you're going to dance on her body. And then there is Ishtadev Vandana, in which you are going to pray to Lord Ganesha, or basically a deva, for the completion of the sequences to come successfully without any obstacles. And it ends in a sabha pranam, in which you offer your obeisances to the Lord, the Guru, and the audience. So with this, then the next item in the Odissi repertoire, as mentioned by the Gurus, is a sthai or a battu. And so it's like as if built on the motif of entering a temple. So first you do pranam from outside, and then you see that outside the temple there's all these carved sculptures in which they're standing in Chowka position, Tribhanga positions, and they're playing instruments. So the veena, the mardala, the manjira, all of these different sculptural positions are weaved into a dance. So you're doing different footwork with these hand positions and in different rhythms, in different speeds, and it becomes sthai or battu. So basically it's an understanding and purification of the limbs. So in that particular item, the dancer perfects her Chowka and Tribhanga understanding, and the understanding of space with respect to her limbs and what looks aesthetically beautiful upon her, according to her physique. So the third item is then called a pallavi. Now in a pallavi, the whole point of a pallavi is to attract the audience's heart. And why are you trying to attract it? Because unless you have grabbed someone's attention, you cannot give Krishna to them, you cannot talk about Krishna to them. So pallavis are very, very beautiful. They're strung on beautiful ragas, Vajrakanti, Hamsadhvani, all of these ragas, and there are very, very beautiful movements that start very small and they blossom into full, like, flowers, which is what the word pallavi is about. It's the blossoming, a new leaf which becomes beautiful and large as it grows. So at the end of a pallavi, you end with like an explosion of tala and raga and beautiful movement, graceful torso movement, neck movements, eye movements, and footwork. So the whole purpose of the pallavi is to completely enrapture the audience And then you follow it with Abhinaya, which is the fourth item of the Odissi repertoire. If you were going to an Odissi recital, this is what you would see. So the fourth item is usually an Abhinaya, which is pastimes of Radha and Krishna, or Lord Ram, like you'll see today, or Narasimha, basically all about Krishna. And you're enacting these pastimes, and it's a way for us to forget about our mundane pains and pleasures or desires, and you meditate and contemplate and give yourself to just hearing and watching these beautiful representations of the Leelas of Radha and Krishna. And that, you know, like the Abhinay Darpan and Natya Shastra both say, it gives a different kind of joy to the heart, which is actually much, much greater. Brahma Paramananda Adhimatyadikam Param. So this is a verse from Abhinay Darpan actually, which is one of the texts of dance, classical texts of dance in any of the classical dance forms of India. And in this particular verse, I believe it's like verse 7 or 8 in Abhinay Darpan, they're talking about the first chapter. They're talking about how this dance form has the ability to bless the student or the audience with a happiness or a bliss that is much greater than even liberation. And how is that possible? Because Brahma Paramananda Adhimatyadhikam Param, otherwise Naradadinam Kathamanyata. How could it attract the heart of Sri Narada? Now, if you read Narad Pancharatra, you understand. He talks about the purport. I think Prabhupada speaks about the 5 kinds of liberations. Sarupya, Sayujya, Salokya. All of these liberations are there. And Narad says, I don't want any of these, Lord. Narad Muni says, I don't want any of these. I just want to serve you how I have been serving you life after life. So this is the mood of Narad Muni. So we know that when they say in the scriptures that if it can attract the heart of Narada, then it can be none other than bhakti. Because this is smaranam basically, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevana. So this is one of the 9 processes of bhakti. It's the remembrance of the Lord, but you're doing with your mind, body, and soul, because you cannot dance without all of these elements. You can maybe hear a lecture and do something else, but you cannot dance and do something else at the same time. So this is actually a very intense form of absorption. And like Hanuman Krishna Maharaj says, in one of the letters he actually wrote to me, inspiring me to do this, he said that actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is what he would do. He would sing and dance the glories of the Lord. And so, the Abhinaya captures the heart and completely fulfills all of his desires, because you're so much in bliss just hearing the pastimes of Krishna that you forget all other miseries in life. And hence, in our Vaishnava interpretation of the Odissi repertoire, the last item is called moksha, or liberation, and you have already reached a state of transcendence, which is much greater than liberation. So liberation is mukti pade siddhaya, standing at your doorstep with folded hands, requesting a Vaishnava to please employ her in his service or her service. Mukti Devi is personally standing on the doorstep of the devotee. This is, I think, by a prayer by Bimal Mangal Thakur. And hence, this is inherent in bhakti. It is moksha laghutakrit. Rupa Goswami says that actually liberation becomes very, very small compared to the joy and ecstasy of bhakti. And one of the processes of bhakti is remembering the pastimes of the Lord, which is what we're going to do today. So this is actually, in essence, the Odissi repertoire from a Vaishnava perspective, which is what we're trying to do now. We're trying to choreograph all of these bhajans by Vaishnava acharyas and teach it to our younger generation, so that they have an opportunity to learn in a very devotional way, connect with devotional activities in a very natural way, in a very beautiful, engaging, fun, natural way. So this is what we're trying to do at Govardhan Eco-Village with our School of Dance. And so I think I have introduced myself, the Odissi style, as well as our Odissi in 96 Hours course. So if you're interested in enrolling, please contact either me at our website, Natyashala Academy, or on my Instagram page, Shatakshi Goyal 108. That's the handle. That's my handle. Or Priyachalarya Prabhu at Govardhan Eco-Village, or anybody at Govardhan Eco-Village. They will be able to direct you to how to enroll and register for the course, and we'd be most happy to serve you. So with this, I'm going to conclude the speaking part of our session today and go into Ramayana. So, as we all know that Ramayana is a very, very beautiful, very sweet, very wonderful, very perfect representation of the character of Sri Ram and his associates. So I have tried very humbly, it was a very humble, small effort that we have put together. Very quickly, there wasn't very much time. A kind of dramatic dance telling of Ramayana from the birth of Lord Ram. So I hope you all relish these pastimes as we narrate them through Odissi style of dance, and I hope that you forgive all the flaws in my efforts to serve all of you today. Hare Krishna.
Many years ago, in the age of Treta Yuga, there was an illustrious sage, Valmiki Muni, who perfected his life by chanting the names of Lord Ram. He gave up his sinful life of a hunter, being forgiven and mercifully inspired by the great sage Narada Muni. The illustrious Valmiki Muni, in all humility and without any preconceived notions, revealed his yearning search for a true hero to his teacher, Narada Muni.
O best among the sages, is there a personality who is grateful, truthful, determined, courageous, and also compassionate? I wish to worship that person.
Just as vigorously churning a rod dipped into the core of curd whips cream to the top, Valmiki's mere questioning created waves of ecstasy in the transcendental body of Sri Narada, and swiveled the name of Lord Ram to his lips. Ram, Ram, Ram.
O Valmiki, the qualities you have inquired about are rare and not easily found in a single person. The one who possesses all these qualities is none other than Lord Rama. O most fortunate one, please now hear from me the divine narration of the supreme qualities of Lord Rama.
On the moon of Navami, the 9th day in the bright fortnight of the waxing moon, in the month of Chaitra, under the star Punarvasu, when all the auspicious planets were in constellation, Kaushalya Devi gave birth to this divine child, Ram, who would go on to become the supremely ever-fresh hero for all men to come.
Arrange for festivities, open the treasuries, and give everyone as much as they want. Free all the prisoners, distribute unlimited wealth among the Brahmanas, decorate every temple in Ayodhya.
This boy shall be known as Rama, or one who gives pleasure to all.
The 4 sons of Dasarath became the joy of the city. Ayodhya was in love with them. The tinkling bells on their lotus feet was music to Dasarath's ears. The chords of devotion towards these children tugged at the heartstrings of Ayodhya's citizens. ठुमक चलत रामचंद्र, ठुमक चलत रामचंद्र, भाजत पैजनिया, ठुमक चलत रामचंद्र, भाजत पैजनिया, ठुमक चलत रामचंद्र, भाजत पैजनिया, ठुमक चलत रामचंद्र। खिलकी खिलकी उठत धाय, खिलकी खिलकी उठत धाय, गिरत भूमि लटपटाय, गिरत भूमि लटपटाय, धाय मात गोद लेत दशरथ की रनिया, ठुमक चलत रामचंद्र, भाजत पैजनिया, ठुमक चलत रामचंद्र। अंचल रज अंग झारी, अंचल रज अंग झारी, विविध भाति सोदुलारी, विविध भाति सोदुलारी, तन मन धन वारी वारी, तन मन धन वारी, तन मन धन वारी वारी, कहत मृदु बचनिया, ठुमक चलत रामचंद्र, भाजत पैजनिया, ठुमक चलत रामचंद्र। विद्रुम से अरुण अधर, विद्रुम से अरुण अधर, बोलत मुख मधुर मधुर, बोलत मुख मधुर मधुर, सुभग नासिका में चारों लटकत लटकनिया, ठुमक चलत रामचंद्र, भाजत पैजनिया, ठुमक चलत रामचंद्र। तुलसीदास अति आनंद, तुलसीदास अति आनंद, देख के मुखार विंद, देख के मुखार विंद, रघुवर छवि के समान, रघुवर छवि बनिया, ठुमक चलत रामचंद्र, भाजत पैजनिया, ठुमक चलत रामचंद्र, भाजत पैजनिया, ठुमक चलत, ठुमक चलत, ठुमक चलत रामचंद्र।
Thank you all so much for joining us today for this seminar on welcoming Lord Ram into our hearts as part of this Women Empowerment Harmony seminar by Govardhan Eco Village. It was a great pleasure to be a part of this, and now we're going to append some Odissi dance videos. So if you'd like to see, please keep watching. If you'd like to visit us or communicate with us, we'll just add some links over here and you can always get in touch with us. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I invite you to take a step back in time into the world of ancient Indic traditions through the window of Natya. It is a journey into the extra-mundane. It seeks a realm beyond temporariness, undisturbed and yet ever-ascending joy. Mangala Charana. In his awe-inspiring image, I rhythmically sculpt my body into Chowka and Tribhanga, Shuddhikaran, purification in both the physical and the metaphysical. My origins, the sculpture-engraved temples of ancient India. Patterns and shapes form in space. Movements enchant, celestial ragas stir. Therefrom emerges an eternal thirst, a longing for epiphanic euphoria. I seek the echoes of a security, an inborn surge, a sense of loss as if once mine. Entrancing ambience, I hear an enchanting sound. As if awakening a dormant part of me, a feeling I longed to feel, a loving trance. Krishna, my mind, body, soul, one in service. Completely honest personal space. Relishing what feels but a mere drop of that liquid nectar. Tales of young damsels in love. Longing. Unparalleled experience of bliss, free of anxiety or misery, and filled with divine love. Moksha awaiting at the door.